Salam sejahtera, anda bersama saya Reza Zulkafli dan ini Niaga Awani. Kita mulakan dengan perkembangan luar negara. Saham di pasaran Asia dijangka bercampur dalam dagangan hari ini dengan angka COVID-19 terus meningkat. Dalam masa yang sama, dolar dijangka mengukuh dengan jangkaan Amerika tidak akan melaksanakan pakej rangsangan baru. Terdahulu, saham di Bursa Amerika didagangkan rendah pada Khamis susulan peningkatan angka permohonan bantuan pengangguran pertama pada minggu lepas. Dalam masa yang sama, pelabur turut gusar pakej rangsangan tidak akan diluluskan sebelum pilihan raya.
Pada Khamis, Amerika umum permohonan bantuan pengangguran naik ke paras 2 bulan tertinggi pada minggu lepas kepada 898,000 orang. Ini meningkatkan lagi ketakutan yang penularan COVID-19 dijangka berikan kesan berpanjangan kepada pasaran buruh di Amerika. Menurut laporan Reuters, dalam masa yang sama, aktiviti pembuatan di Amerika jatuh lebih besar daripada jangkaan pada Oktober. Presiden Trump sebelum ini nyatakan akan tingkatkan pelan rangsangan kepada $1.8 trilion. Namun idea berkenaan ditolak Senat Amerika. Indeks ketidaktentuan CBOE dalam masa yang sama meningkat ke paras 1 minggu tertinggi. Ketika ini berbaki kurang 20 hari lagi sebelum pilihan raya di Amerika dan pelabur dijangka menantikan town hall calon presiden dari kedua-dua parti. Pasaran menjangka kemenangan Joe Biden akan menjanjikan pelan rangsangan ekonomi yang lebih besar daripada apa yang ditawarkan Republikan. Pada penutup, indeks Dow Jones jatuh 19 mata, indeks S&P 500 jatuh 5 mata dan Nasdaq jatuh 54 mata.
Dan bersama kita untuk membincangkan prestasi pasaran Asia dan juga global adalah Stephen Ines, Ketua Strategi Pasaran Global XC yang kini berada di Bangkok. Stephen, let's talk about the markets in the US. The President wanted a bigger stimulus package, but Republicans in the Senate disagreed to that. At the same time, unemployment figures continue to increase in the US. How is this affecting the sentiments in Asia?
Well, I think the markets are all revolving around two narratives right now. One, the positive narrative around U.S. stimulus. I think the thought here is that longer-term investors don't really care whether the stimulus packages happen this week or after the election. They're happy that it's going to happen. And I think that's why we saw a convincing bounce after yesterday's monster mash in the market that was predominantly headline-driven because of the second narrative, which is the rise of COVID in Europe. Now, you know, how we react to these COVID lockdowns is quite interesting. I think there's a lot of panic simply because of the fact that the markets draw attention back to March when we had the broader lockdowns and the negative economic effects of that happened. But governments are certainly not going to go down that path again. They're going to impose soft lockdowns. They're going to impose lockdowns restricting people's social mobility so that they're not going to have large group gatherings. Obviously, this is the problem because in the Northern Hemisphere, colder weather promotes activity moving indoors and where the spread of the virus becomes more prevalent. But I think a lot of people around the world outside of Asia don't regard the spread of this virus as seriously as what we have over here in this neck of the woods. We still face mask in Bangkok. Everybody still wears a face mask, even with COVID being absent. Over in Europe and in the U.S., people are still going out without wearing a mask, and this is a problem, and this is going to continue to be a problem. But perhaps these soft lockdowns will provide that much-needed reality check that people have to defend themselves because the virus is still around.
But this soft lockdown, surely it will cause further slowdown in recovery. How would investors look at this?
Well, you know, fortunately, we have a lot of stimulus in the markets right now. And I think the thought of more stimulus coming to the markets, provided the governments cover Main Streets back by issuing sort of covering the employment check scenarios, that's very favorable for growth. I think things continue to resonate in a lot of cyclical factors in the economy. And this continues to drive optimism in equity markets and stock markets. Look, we've been down this course before. We know the curves will eventually flatten again, but the problem is how many times are we going to have to revisit this narrative? And this is a real problem. Indeed, we're going to see a slowdown. Quite a backpedaling in optimism in Europe as we head into the year end. That's a given. The U.S. have already weighed in on the negative input of the mini-second wave that occurred in the U.S., but that is passing, but it's coming back again. So I think the reality is we're just going to have to get used to COVID being around for a while longer, because the vaccines in the pipeline right now are not passing the third series trials with any significant degree of confidence, suggesting that those could be delayed, and this is going to continue to hurt investor sentiment. But right now, it's all about stimulus.
Learning the lessons from the first lockdown, what sectors will be most affected by this new development, or would be probably differently affected by this new development?
It's an interesting call right now, because a lot of the stay-at-home sectors are very, very much elevated right now. Typically you would think tech would be doing well, but it's not right now, because people are selling out of tech right now ahead of the U.S. election because of the fear of regulatory clampdowns by the U.S. and also in Europe. That's affecting those sectors right now. So I think what is looking at value right now is investors are looking more towards value, given the stimulus that's coming right now, and more towards cyclical stocks, sort of avoiding the dreary aspects of COVID, but relying more optimistically on the fact that we are going to get a big stimulus package, and hope for a vaccine still resonates, because there are numerous of those vaccines in the pipelines. We've only had 2 or 3 of those trials that have been backpedaling. There's about 10 other trials that are still actively moving on, and those are showing significantly positive results.
Let's look at the postponement of the stimulus package in the US. How do you think this will affect the dollar against other currencies in Asia during today's trading?
Well, it's interesting. I think, fortunately for the Asia currency markets, Chinese economy is really arguably the only economy on the planet right now that is showing any semblance of a V-shaped recovery. The data this month has been exceptional, compared to any other time that I can even remember. It's just staggeringly good. And this is buttressing local sentiment to a large degree. But we've still got to deal with that U.S. dollar safe haven demand. Obviously, when COVID is in the air in Europe, the main 2 protagonists, the euro and the U.S. trades favorably on that. And this is sort of holding Asia currencies back a bit. Also, we had the PBOC earlier in the week sort of making overtones that they weren't overly excited about the rapid pace of rallying in the yuan, and that's sort of taken a little bit of steam out of the Asian basket. But I think the Asian economic outlook looks very favorable, simply because China has passed the virus a lot quicker than any other economy in the domestic world, and this will continue to resonate. This will play well for commodity exporting countries, so we should see a positive knock-on effect in a lot of EM currencies as well. The ringgit is going to benefit because of those exports going into China.
And Stephen, let's look at the developments in Southeast Asia. 3 countries in Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Thailand, and also Indonesia, are facing interesting political developments. How are the markets in these countries affected by this issue?
Well, we know the situation in Malaysia it's been going on for years, and in Thailand and in Indonesia. And I think to a great extent the markets are somewhat desensitized to it. Although, when we have those flare-ups, of course, there's always going to be a negative reaction. Currency markets have been relatively tame. We're looking at the ringgit and looking at the Thai baht, for instance. The Indonesian rupee has other concerns, so I'm going to group that later, and we'll discuss that in a second. But those 2 currencies, the markets are very nonplussed, because they know that the economies are rather strong. The central banks are quite good in both those countries, and they have a strong presence. And I think that's quite favorable. Although both economies are struggling, and Malaysia coming out of the COVID, and also the travel sector in Thailand is suffering dramatically because of the travel alerts. But that's more reflected in a less sanguine view of the stock markets, where both countries' stock markets struggle. Indonesia is another kettle of fish, because that's considered more of a high-yielding currency. But even right now, that's not being looked at so well, because there's some infighting where the central bank is getting pushed to the side a little bit by government policy, and this isn't playing out too well. It looks like the central bank may have to monetize a larger chunk of the government debt, and that's just weighing on the currency quite precipitously relative to other currencies in the Asian basket.
You're in Bangkok right now. What can you tell us with regards to the protests in Bangkok? Is it still happening today, or what's happening in Bangkok right now?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty big yesterday. Very peaceful, mind you. There was no significant altercations, and that's typically the way these peaceful altercations transpire. This is going to be a concern because, poverty is a big concern. People hate getting taxed. Throughout the world, people hate taxing and having those monies going into politicians, or the perception that money is getting hoovered up by politicians' huge salaries. Whether that's right or wrong, it's not my call on that. But, it's always going to be a contentious issue, just like we see all throughout the world. There's this income inequality that resonates everywhere, not only Thailand, but it's happening globally. And I think this is going to be a point of contention as we move through the next decade or so.
And lastly, Stephen, we are about less than 20 days away from the US election. Are investors staying away from maybe volatile stocks related to the US election, or what's happening right now?
Yeah, I think the deep pocket investors are willing to, punch their ticket to the stimulus rally bus again. I think, if the bargains are there like they did last night. But I think there's a degrossing that's definitely going on in the markets because there's no real assurance that those polls are accurate like we've seen back in 2016. Trump made a remarkable recovery. And as we've seen in past voting events, whether it's a Scottish referendum or whether it's the Brexit vote, the polls can be incredibly wrong. So right up until the election day, I think risk is going to remain a little bit wobbly. So, yeah, I think investors are probably going to stand back unless absolute bargains come knocking on their door.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Itu tadi Stephen Innes membincangkan berkenaan dengan pasaran Asia. Stephen Innes adalah Ketua Pasaran Global, Ketua Strategi Pasaran Global untuk XZ. Kita akan berhenti berehat seketika, kembali selepas ini.
Supaya kerajaan memberi prasarana asas saja, dari segi dewan, dari segi upgradekan kampung tu, terutama konsep homestay, dia duduk dengan tuan rumah, tapi satu konsep yang baru dikenalkan ialah konsep kampung stay. Mungkin kerajaan boleh buat satu rumah di tepi sungai untuk dapat kebanyakan, walaupun kita kata orang-orang di Kuala Lumpur especially, dia tak, anak-anak dia tak merasa indah kampung. Jadi maksud dia dengan suasana kampung asal, sebab mereka dah besar di bandar dengan apartmen yang tersegah, mungkin dia dah rasa rindu untuk melihat kampung sebenar. Hari inilah kerajaan kena promote ataupun beri perhatian promosi terhadap inat desa ni. Sebenarnya kalau untuk membantu masyarakat inat desa di kampung ni, macam agensi kerajaan ataupun macam contoh seminar ataupun berkaitan kerajaan, biasa selama ni berada di hotel yang besar, mungkin boleh buat package berada di kampung. Berada di kampung, dalam tanda tu kita ada package dari segi semula jadi. Dari package ni supaya pihak kerajaan boleh membantu daripada kursus-kursus yang ada dekat kementerian, banyak-banyak pelbagai kementerian untuk memberi peluang untuk dapat kekayaan negara ni boleh diagih kepada sasaran, guru sasaran.